Communication, delegation, and coaching. Welcome to this lesson. Let's take a look at the agenda for today. We will start our journey with understanding what communication is. We will move on to look at two types of communication, verbal and non-verbal. We'll look at the 7 C's of communication and then look at 7 tips to make our communication better. And we will be ending with other types of communication and how we can get feedback, which is also very important when we talk about communication. So let's start off. Communication. And I'm going to give a quote from Nikki Gumbel. It says, "A lot of problems in the world would be solved if we talked to each other instead of about each other." And I'm sure you will agree with me that if we actually ask questions, get clarity, and understand issues, there would be a lot less conflict in the world. So, what is communication? Any ideas? I'd like you to write what you think communication is in the chat section. Now, I know everybody knows what communication is, but let's try and formalize it. Let's look at what a standard definition of communication is. So write them down for me in the chat. So let's look at a definition of communication. Communication is the act of transferring information from one place, person, or group to another. Every communication involves at least one sender, the message, and a recipient. And the desired outcome or goal of any communication is what? Mutual understanding. In business and everywhere else, communication is like the highway for sharing information. It's about sending messages from one person or place to another. And there are 3 parts to our communication. Like I said earlier, someone sends the message itself carries information, and someone else gets and understands it. This whole process helps ideas and plans move around. But there's a kicker. Good communication isn't just about passing information, it's about making sure everyone understands what is really being meant. It's about getting on the same page so everyone is clear and working towards the same goals. In business, clear messages don't just help with tasks, they bring people together, they spark new ideas, and help everyone make smart choices. So, when everyone is on the same page, everybody's on board, that's when you can really move forward. And that's when work becomes smooth and efficient. How many times have you asked somebody to do something and the person has erroneously done something else? And then you've asked further questions and you discovered that what happened was that the person didn't get the assignments properly in the first place. I remember a time I asked my driver to bring a particular piece of material out of my car, and I told him it was pink. And he came back to me and said there was no material that was pink in the car. And a few days later, I found what I was looking for. And so I asked him, "I found this in the car, and you told me that you couldn't find any pink material in the car." And I showed it to him. And then he said, "Oh, no, you said pink. What you have in your hand is orange." What has happened there? There has been a breakdown in communication. A color that I would refer to as pink, he refers to it as orange, which means we were not on the same page. Communication is complete when the receiver receives the message in the same way the sender intends to convey it. This may sound simple, but communication is actually a very complex subject. The complexity is why good communication skills are essential. Like the example I gave, my intention was to convey a particular color, and obviously He had something different in mind. So you might think that passing on a message is easy and straightforward. I say something, you understand it just like I mean it. But it's not always the case. Communication can be very tricky. And it's not just about saying things, it's about language, feelings, context, where we come from, and how we see things. All these things mix together, making it easy to misunderstand each other or even mess up the message completely, which is what happened in my case. So that's why we have to learn good communication skills. And it's not just about speaking well, it's about really listening, understanding others, and being clear when we talk. Being good at this helps us connect, solve problems, and get things done, no matter where we are or who we're talking to. So, getting better at communication isn't just a plus, it's a must. The transmission of a message from the sender to the recipient can be affected by a huge range of things. For example, emotions, culture, medium used to communicate, or even the location. So, the transmission of a message from the sender to the recipient can be affected by so many things: emotions, cultural background, the way we interpret things, and the mode of communication employed, or even geographical location. All of these things can affect how we receive messages. Let's look at face to face communication. When you're speaking to someone face to face, you can read body language. Maybe if you are communicating over the internet or a virtual meeting, you might not pick up the body language. The same thing when I write a mail, I might portray a certain tone of voice, but that might not be what I mean. But because I am writing and not speaking, the receiver will not understand what I really mean. The receiver will conclude based on what and how I have written the message. So let's consider this scenario. When conveying a message, the emotions involved, the cultural perspectives, and the physical setting in which the communication occurs all play a pivotal role in shaping how the message is received. Furthermore, the medium through which the message is communicated, like I said, whether it's written, spoken, verbal, non-verbal, holds considerable sway over how the message is interpreted. This intricate interplay of elements forms a complex landscape wherein the message must navigate. So let's look at how we can understand communication. It could be formal or informal, it could be verbal or non-verbal, it could be written or visualized. It takes various forms and it compasses so many exchanges where words are articulated in either formal precision or casual ease. It could also extend beyond the spoken language to encompass nonverbal cues like gestures, facial expressions, or postures, often conveying nuances that words alone cannot express. And I teach this a lot when I'm, teaching classes on public speaking. It's not just your words. Your audience are going to read your body language as well. And so you have to bring your entire body and your gestures into what you are saying to interpret your message better. So communication isn't just limited to spoken words. It's not just limited to written words. You must portray clarity and precision in the context in which you want to in the context of the message that you want to convey. And sometimes visual aids and representations can really help in making your message clearer. Graphs, diagrams, images, all of this enhance the message and bring about more clarity in the things you want to say so that the receiver can understand you better. Finally, in this lesson, we're going to understand good team communication. Effective team communication stands as the cornerstone of a productive work environment. If you are working in a team and there is no cohesion, you and I know that, being productive is going to be very difficult. And one of the things that can quickly bring about that cohesion is the ability for your team to communicate well amongst themselves. The impact is profound and it's capable of steering a team towards success or impeding its progress towards disaster. So, when team communication is well established and thriving, yes, it's a catalyst for progress. It fosters seamless interaction among team members, facilitating a synergy that propels them towards their goals. This synergy created by good communication becomes a formidable force, making the attainment of objectives almost effortless. But when communication flows effortlessly within a team, ideas are exchanged freely, and everyone comprehends one another. It's this unified understanding that generates a potent energy, enhancing collaboration and enabling the team to navigate challenges with ease. Cohesion synergy forged through effective communication becomes a potent asset in achieving collective goals. And so, it's so important for your team to be able to communicate effectively with each other. So that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson, understanding what communication is and why it's important. In the next lesson, we're going to look at verbal and non-verbal communication.